Yeah, that's right. We got woken up very early this morning by an alarm call in the hotel, on the hotel's loudspeaker system, to get into the shelter as quickly as possible. An air raid siren going on at the same time. We came down. I'm in the courtyard at the moment, but if you look down here, the shelter is just down there, and it is packed with people, not just, I have to say, with guests from this hotel, but people from in the neighborhood as well, who are taking shelter, old women, children, anybody who can find somewhere to feel remotely safe, because during the night there have been attacks on Kyiv, on the center of Kyiv for the first time. The mayor of the city said that there was one hit on an apartment block. 3 people were injured. Nobody killed, it seems, at this point. But we know now that the fighting is getting closer, that on the outskirts of Kyiv there is street fighting between Ukrainian forces and Russian forces. And in effect, everywhere around Ukraine at the moment, the fighting is becoming more intense as time goes by.
Rob, what are people saying to you there, the people that are sheltering where you are? How concerned are they?
Well, they are very concerned indeed. It's just the unpredictability of the situation. Nobody knows what turn this is going to take. Nobody knows what the mood will be of the Russian forces if they do indeed come into the center of the city. It's not absolutely determined that that will happen, but obviously these people are looking at the future and thinking this is very uncertain. It could be very violent. We don't know how the Russian soldiers will behave if they come into the city. The future of the country is still hanging in the balance. President Zelensky is still in Kyiv, according to all accounts, with his family. He says he's not going to be leaving, but it's the uncertainty that is feeding the fear, I think, of a lot of people. Fear that they could be struck by a missile at any moment.
And Rob, are people there, do you think, like we're hearing Zelensky said earlier, that Kyiv has been coming under missile attack? You're saying the forces are quite close to the city at this point. Do you think people are going to stay where they are at this stage, or are they talking about trying to get out of Ukraine?
Yes, I mean, as I was saying, there have been missile strikes on Kyiv during the night, becoming more intense than at any period since the start of the conflict. And people have already been trying to get out in their thousands, probably more than hundreds of thousands over the last 24 hours. As the fighting gets more intense and people start to hear the bombardments, start to hear small arms fire on the outskirts of the city, they will clearly start to panic in many cases. And a lot of people are going to be trying to flee, mostly to the west of the country in the hope of getting to the Polish border, which is about 7 hours away. But you can imagine what the situation will be like. Whoever has got a car and whoever's got petrol to put in the car will be getting on the road. The roads will be clogged. There will be panic. Nobody will know exactly where the Russian troops are. And there's that uncertainty. It's getting close to the point, I think, when panic is going to take over.
And Rob, are there children there where you are? Are there families? What kind of people have come to that shelter where you are today?
These are all kinds of people. There are guests, obviously, from the hotel, most of them foreign correspondents like ourselves, but also people have just come off in the street because they know that the hotel has got a basement where they should be relatively safe. There are several young children down there. I was talking to an old lady who's obviously very frightened at the moment, but she's happy to find shelter, at least, the basement of the hotel. So, anybody, who can come off the street and get into the shelter is doing so. A lot of people, of course, are staying in their homes. Many of the homes have basements themselves, and on the advice of the city authorities, they've been sheltering in them.
Rob Parsons reporting there from a makeshift shelter in a hotel in Kyiv.